Okay, so it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. It's so weird too. It's like how I can feel like awake, but still feel so tired. My God, I feel like I just want to just lay and doze off and on all day long and all night long. Like, God, I feel exhausted. And it's been like for a couple of weeks. It's like, man, am I ever going to feel rested? Man, this is rough. And then I saw somebody saying that that's part of ascension or something. If you're having back problems, which that's why I've been having it, I have not had it. It's so like, and I keep thinking, oh, it's probably because I'm sleeping on the couch. And then for so long, it's probably not the best way to sleep. But I always think there's lots of people who sleep on way worse. And what was the other thing? The the not being able to sleep all night. They said that is if you're having back pain and you're getting woke up all night, and which it's so crazy. Like it is as soon as I start to fall back asleep, it is like something tells her go. And it's the weirdest thing. So, anyways, we were up for a while in the middle of the night. So I don't know. But it still seems like, dang, I should still feel rested. And I feel so tired. And I feel like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. As I still feel like scared. And also, I want to clarify this feeling that I have to catch my breath. It doesn't feel like it's medical at all. It feels like, like when you're really excited and you're trying to tell somebody a story and you gotta be like, it feels like that. I feel like it's this energy, this excitement energy on the planet that I am feeling super strong. Some of the things I would say, I feel the energy around us. I think more than a lot of other people. I don't know, because a lot of people don't know what you're talking about when you say that. It feels like the energy on the planet doesn't feel like it's me. The thing that feels like me, yeah, is that the where my lungs feel stopped up, my nose running and running, sneezing, headache, the joint stiffness and aching. That stuff feels like me, and that is I think it's arsenic poisoning personally, but I'm sure they'd have some kind of sickness that it's, but they don't count things about being sick unless you have like a temperature or something. And I was just thinking, how many people they just make go to work and just work through it. Don't be a wuss. And it's like they'll work you to death. Like in China, and there's people who they actually work them to death. Like they get like an hour or two off. It's like work round the clock kind of shit, and they'll find people dead in their offices and shit. Is what I heard. Who knows? It could be propaganda, but anyways, we can see here they just work you to death. They don't at all. Like if you even have any kind of symptoms of anything, they just, oh, that's allergies. Go get some allergy medicine. Get the medicine. Like, we're real damn sick of the medicines. So, and I feel like there's such benefit not taking them. Like, I know there's still people struggling through and taking a little of this and, well, they're going to get off that. It is like a step process. You just keep going with your weaning off process. And, if you're tuned in or tapped into your guidance, they'll push you at the right times. Something will just eat away at you and eat away at you. You'll keep thinking about it, videos that pop up about it. And that is like a communication. So just pay attention to that kind of stuff. And there's so much more coming out all the time about the vitamins and the minerals, and that's what's really wrong with us. And then then they poison us on top of it. And then let me think. Okay, see, it's like I feel like this excitement, but it doesn't feel like there's enough, like my, I don't know, like my internet. It feels like in all steps of my life, like micro, macro, that it's like I'm outgrowing my space. And it looks like my energy is outgrowing it. It's like, oh, it feels really exciting. I don't know. And then plus I think a lot of us are feeling like we're preparing for this You know, it's like you're packing up for a vacation or something that you know you're going on. Um, but maybe there's no signs that you have that there's a vacation ahead, but you just know. And so there is that kind of feeling right now to me on the thing, like there's about to be some big changes. And I know some people feel real stressed out about it and stuff, but that's a part of their storyline. It's a part of how things are supposed to play out. And I thought this was very exciting, but also very interesting. So my one daughter, and this one, she is one, you know, we're really close. I'm close to them. We have like, I have a separate relationship with each daughter. You can't just put them all under an umbrella. And then this daughter is the one the other daughters be like, oh, she's a favorite. But it's really, she doesn't try and argue with you about stuff. She'll say what she thinks. And if she's the one is more like, okay, let's just not talk. And it's like, we won't talk for a couple days or a week or something like that. And so there was challenges. It's so crazy too with my oldest daughter, because she was the first person who lied to me where it really hurt. It hurt so bad. And you know, I felt like didn't even know her. I was just lost. And this is back when she was a teenager and she was going through stuff and she was hiding it. And I didn't know. I kept believing her. This is something that was a big problem between me and the husband that raised the kids together. Is because I'm too trusting and I believe them and he doesn't trust anybody or believe anybody. So we were always on two ends of the poles. And but that was a part of what I was supposed to go through. This is the thing, is people have got to see, like, your perspective is what you're supposed to go through. So I was supposed to go through that stuff. There's lessons. There was a lot of lessons. And it wasn't lessons like, oh, I can't trust anybody. I can't trust her or something. And at the time, it was just very painful. No, I was processing a lot of stuff. It was very painful. And but this daughter that I'm talking about right now, she's the third, but she's the oldest of the second group, because I had the first two daughters with one husband, and I got divorced and ended up marrying, who was somebody who he knew, how I met him through him. And we were like best friends. I thought this was going to be like this best relationship. And it was good. It showing me a lot of stuff, teaching me a lot. I learned a lot. So the she's the oldest of his kids, and he is a lot more of a driven than the first husband. So there's a lot more pressure on the second firstborn girl. The firstborn, you know, she still has the pressures. Every firstborn kid has pressures. Like, they're the experiment. They're the ones that are like, well, should I do this? Should I try that? What if this were, you know? And then you have the next one and they're complete opposite of that one. And it's like, oh, now what do I do? It's like, start over, but you already have like you already have some tools in the tool belt. But anyways, there's that. So the oldest child always has some shenanigans. And but sometimes there's lots and lots of pressure. Like, if you have a parent, like my dad was very, I was a firstborn, and my dad was very, like I said, I had to start working when I was a kid. I had to start babysitting. If I didn't want to babysit, too bad. His friends going out, you're going babysitting. And I would be babysitting for these people I didn't know. I would be assaulted at times. There was like all sorts of stuff. And then he made me get the paper route. And then that was like, oh my God, that was some work. That was hard work. And they did help me on Sundays because the papers were bigger. But I'd have to go out on my bike and throw papers. And then I'd have to go door to door to collect. And because I was a little kid, nobody would ever pay me. So they'd be like, I already paid you. I already paid you. And we're talking a quarter. We're talking about a fucking quarter. So it was like I was the one who was having to pay for all the newspapers. And they were all getting them for free. Because that's how it works. You know, you got to go collect the money for the papers that you've already bought. And so the okay. Oh yeah, so I'm back on this story. Okay. I just go all over the place. And I can see, like, it would be hard for some people, if your mind works in a certain way to keep up with mine. It would be like, ugh, I don't want to listen to her. So I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. So more power to y'all who can keep up. But anyway, so this daughter though, when this stuff went down in 2020, is when I started trying to tell her, and her reaction towards me and the stuff she was saying and stuff. The one daughter, she stopped talking to me. And that was over, the all lives, and I said everybody matters. And but the narrative was being pushed in a certain direction, in a certain way. So the people that were saying everybody matters, we were toxic and only trying to exclude the people who they were trying to say matter, which was like, no, I'm just trying to say we're all the same. We're all equal. We shouldn't be there should not be an out of balance on that. We shouldn't just be saying these people matter, but these people, it was like, but I was already a lot further in the awakening at this point. I was like 2016 to 2020. That was a lot of stuff happened in that period of time to me. So, I could see things clearly on that. And then, those things you could see like the division and shit they were creating. And so, anyways, but that's how we were supposed to, the people who we woke up to that stuff, that was supposed to wake us up. That's why we woke up to it. And we could see it. And we could see and understand it, what was happening. So and just because some people woke up to that part doesn't mean they woke up to all parts. That's the thing, is we all have different parts of different parts that we are waking up to. So anyways, at the time I was saying stuff, and this is when I switched and started saying about Donald that they were lying about him. I was like, he's a really good guy. And it's so crazy because I was anti him, like on Twitter and stuff. I was talking shit on him. And like I said, as soon as it switched, that's like when I lost my accounts. What are those people called? Secret Service came to my house, all that shit. And so that, so as soon as I started saying, and this was happening because I was watching the stuff, just because I was a nurse before. I wasn't being a nurse at the time. I had already lost my license from the brain injury, but I still know some of the stuff. And so, anyways, see how I could just go off. Then I start explaining my brain injury stuff. But some of the stuff, you'll also have to go back and watch old videos if you don't know. So before I was saying negative stuff about him, especially back on Facebook before they took that account. And that was way before 2016. That was more like maybe it was 2016 when they took it, because there was a lot happening then. And it was, I don't remember around that. No, because I was on Facebook during that thing. That is when I started telling people. So it must have been 2016. That's when I started telling people, Donald's going to win. He's going to win. Like, and people get so mad. Like I was saying, oh, I hope he wins. I hope he wins. And I was like, that's not what I'm saying. But if he does, it's because that's what the world needs, because it needs to, at the time I was seeing it like it was going to go so dark, but that was going to bring us to the light. And I thought it was him. And because, he was saying stuff like, he could do this in the middle of Times Square and nobody would care and all this stuff. But, now I can see more, like I've caught on more of like how they're playing this. And so, I was telling people he was going to win. People were getting so mad. But to me, it was like obvious. Just go in and read the comments. Like, are you skipping that part? You just look at the posts. It's all like, go read the comments. There's no fucking way that HRC is going to win. There is no way in holy hell. And then that was obvious by the people. I mean, they still were planning on cheating so hard that they were still going to win, which would have been mind boggling because there was no, but it's the same thing. I mean, that happened about Joe. So, where it was like, no way. Like, I don't even understand how there's certain people who can't run those numbers in their head. They can't look at somebody's rally and somebody else's, and it doesn't, like, where's the, do you have a thing that computes this to you? Like, are you figuring it out? Like, what's going on in there? And so anyways, but some people don't pay attention to all that stuff. But this is the part that gets people. And that is another thing I want to talk about in this video I had just seen, because that is what there's people who are going through the replay, like, not seeing and ignoring the signs as what we're good at. Ignoring the signs, just trying to make the best of it. And then when all ends, then we look back and are like, oh my God, I can't believe what I put up with. But so on this one, is like I was telling people, he was gonna win, but I was still anti him, because then even when I was like on Twitter in like 2018, it was 2017 is when I went on there, because I was trying to make contact with this person who had triggered me, who I felt this need, I had to talk to him. So, and I thought Twitter was the obvious way to talk to him. And, but then I saw that that was impossible. Like, you have to have that person be following you to be able to talk to him. And so then I was like, okay, well, this is obviously not what I'm supposed to do. So then I just got all caught up in all of the drama that was going on Twitter. And, I would go on and say snotty things to Trump and stuff like that. So I was still like anti-him. Everybody in my family knew. And, but then as soon as 2020 happened, so it was, we went to the wedding, got back and came home. And then it was lockdown. And I was locked down, of course, over here by myself. And my one daughter, who's not talking, she got super, super sick. And it was when, everybody thought like, oh, you're going to die, you're going to die. And she wanted me to come there and take care of her. So I did. And I was scared. I was definitely like, fuck, I don't like being sick. I don't want to get sick. God damn. And I was like, oh, but how do you, she needs help. And so I went to go help her. And I just took a bunch of the emergency. I just took that and just drank it all day long. And which now I have heard that was the solution. Like they were saying, it was, I don't know, maybe it was 2021 or something. It's when you started being able to hear doctors talk. And then they started saying, everybody who's going is vitamin D deficient, and everybody who is getting over it or whatever is taking large quantities of vitamin C. So I was like, oh, well, see, I was just naturally did the right thing. But I'm not going to say naturally because I'm a genius. It's because I have guides that show me, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And so I went and took that, came home, and then I was waiting, those days, and I thought, I would get sick, and I started to feel sick. And I was like, okay, here it comes. And then that was it. It was all over. I started to feel sick, and then it went away. I was like, oh, so all you gotta do is take a bunch of vitamin C? Because she was oh my gosh, she was so sick. And one of my other daughters too. And they both ate at the same place in the airport. And at the airport, there were so many people going around, because we had flown internationally, and there were so many people going around. And then, the thing that got me too was I was thinking, I bet you at the airport they're blowing this shit through the vents. It was weird. There was a lot of weird stuff. But anyways, the two daughters that went to the pizza place and ate, they both got super, super sick when we got home. And another person got sick, but these two got really sick. So anyways, she was super, super sick, and I didn't really get sick. So I had a couple of things like, so she must have gotten it straight from the horse's mouth. And then once it goes through, it weakens. So it's more of a weakening. Unless you have a weak immune system and anything kicks your ass. And there is like where you got to load up on the vitamin C, vitamin D, and stuff like that. And so I got through that, and this is all to get to this one story. It's so funny. It's just gonna. This is what is something that is always drives people crazy when they talk to me, is because my stories. And I'll start going on a story, like somebody will say something, I'll start telling, and then it's like they're just sitting there listening. Like I can be a conversation hog, like basically, because I fucking have these long drawn out stories, but they make sense in my head, like I can see it. So, but it almost can be long and convoluted to get to where my point is. And so that was all um, at the beginning of 2020, because that was March when we got back from our trip. And then it was like a couple weeks later, they locked us down. But somehow, because in that couple weeks is also, I went and got that damn eye laser thing. And because that was right when they locked it down, I couldn't go back and do to go back and see. So there must have been a couple weeks, and I had to see the eye doctor or something when we got back. And they did the laser on my eyes, and they locked us down. Then my eyes swelled. Oh, it was horrible. I'm never, motherfucking shit. I still feel like I've got problems from that. And I'm kind of curious about this drops that people are saying can cure all the stuff with your eyes. It's some kind of a honey drops or something. It's super expensive. It's like one little bottle is $80. You get 5 of the bottles, it's like 200 and something dollars. And so anyways, I'm thinking about it. And it supposedly goes in, and I don't know, because I've always felt like these floaters were like stuff inside my eyes. They look like bacteria and stuff. So, and this it dries up. It says it dries up like the mucus behind your eyes, the puffing and all of that stuff, where I have felt like there's swelling. I always feel like there's like swelling behind my eyes, which I know that there is because they jacked up. Now, that's a whole nother story. So that go off on that too. So anyways, so when the lockdown thing happened, and I was already had thoughts about the sickness, and then they started pushing hard, and then when they started telling us we had to have these on and everybody was buying it, and I was like, this is bullshit. And then everybody kept thinking, well, I was crazy. I was, I was the one who was mental, because I'm always the one who's standing out here going like, you guys, no, don't listen to that. And then I always look like some sort of a nut. So then so that was going on. So I started watching every day the thing. He would come out and talk, and then he would pull all these people on stage. And that's where I started seeing he was pulling people on stage that were lying. And sometimes he'll make faces at them and stuff, and then he'll be like, are you sure? You're sure about that? I was like, oh, he's getting them to, it's like getting them on camera, getting them on the footage to say certain things. Like I was picking up on this while I was watching. And so then I was like, okay, so there's more going on here. And then I started seeing him as being funny. I started seeing a lot more stuff. And so I don't know, it all happened in a certain way where then I started seeing people talking about who really knew him and what a great guy he is. There was all these newspaper articles about all this great stuff that he does, and all these people saying he is like the nicest guy. It doesn't even matter if you are the gardener at Mar-a-Lago or something, and you're just, maybe you're a new hire. He's going to know your name. He's going to know stuff about you. He's going to always talk to you like you're just as important as anyone else he talks to. He just seemed like, man, this guy is like a fucking saint. And they are acting like this to him. And so that was like, so I was watching, and then I started trying to tell people, because I thought, well, other people are going to want to know this. This is crazy. And that is when I got the kick, that like, nope, you've gone crazy now. You've crossed to the other side. I don't know what's wrong with you, but you're mental at this point. So I was getting that hardcore. And a lot of isolation. I wouldn't follow the protocols and shit, so more isolation. So it was the whole thing that I was going through. And this daughter, she was very much driven in a certain direction and very much turning off hearing me. And so I told her at that time, I said, don't worry, because at some point you're going to see what I'm talking about. And I said, but don't worry. Don't feel like you have to apologize to me or something. Like I'm going to hold this against you or something. Because, I could see like something was wrong. Like the people weren't seen. And then there was more coming out, and I was finding out more about the universities, and both of them are college graduates, and that all the programming to get them, it's like to pull you out of like how your family thinks. It's like purposely done to separate you like into a progressive way of thinking, because you'll accept anything. They could do anything to you. It's for the greater good. And so and that's what we're seeing, how many people will take so much abuse, especially these people who take so much abuse, or a lot of them are the ones who are telling us like, don't abuse me, don't abuse me. But they'll take all this abuse from the government. It's like, why? So, anyways, uh, at that time I had said, don't worry about apologizing, because I knew she was going to feel bad because she was having a really shitty attitude towards me, and thinking like I was crazy and stuff. But I could see it was like through programming. I could see it wasn't like her. And so, anyways, yesterday she calls me, and she calls me, and I just start talking, and then I catch myself, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, you called me," and I just start talking and take over the conversation. But I'm a talker, and then and she was like, "Oh, it's okay," but I did want to call and talk about something. She said, "I really want to say that I'm sorry." I all that stuff, like now I'm seeing what you're saying, and I am sorry that I had said that. And I was like, remember, I told you didn't have to apologize. It's okay. And she's like, well, I don't believe all this stuff. Like I'm still not there on all this stuff. And I said, yeah, well, just just wait and see. And she's like, oh, well, I'm not like flat earth or anything like that. And I said, oh no, it's fine. And besides, it's not even flat Earth. Like that is just your step down off the globe. I mean, it's realms and realities, and it's all on this vibration and stuff. And so, but it's all in like our like there's a realm of our realm, because even if you leave and you go to different places and you go to different vibrations, it's still, you can go there. I don't know if it would be like you just wouldn't be able to get there. Somehow everything would go wrong or something if you weren't the vibration or something, because somehow we're able to travel around in our own bubble, but you still go to places that are different vibration. Like nobody, like they're all different. Like it's different worlds. If you go and travel very much, you see. If you're always at your own place, then you're not going to see what I'm talking about. But if you go out and travel, you see. Places have their own vibe. It's just different. You just are going to different realms and different realities. And sometimes people move out of one and into another. And they can tell that it's a totally different vibe. It's totally different energy. The way people act is different. It's different realms and realities, as I would say. It's not just like thinking about it as like a flat earth plane is more of a three-dimensional trying to process through, because it is more of this electronic toroidal field, which is all of these realities and stuff inside of this energetic system. And see, it is like now with our energy, it has been going in this way, but now it's going to flip and start going the other way, where that is where people are like, well, what's that going to do to us? What's that going to do to the planet, to the globe, all that stuff, which I don't know. I think it's, we're in the process of these changes on the landscape and stuff. And that to me is kind of in just this overall energy or attitude and stuff like that. But I don't think it's going to be some extreme thing like where we're going to, but there's going to be some weird stuff. There's going to keep being weird stuff. But I don't think we're like going to turn inside out or something. It's going to, there's some of this stuff to me is more of a metaphor or something. like the pole shifting, but it's weird how there's all this movement, like they're monitoring these things. So, I don't know. I just know it's the ending of the old world and the beginning of a new one. And so, we have to let go of it. It's out of our hands, it's out of our control. You can sit and stress, you can sit and cry, you can jump up and down, you can whine. I feel like a lot of it is kind of processing through old stuff, just processing through, like, you know, uh, being able to go eat cheeseburgers. Like, things like that are going to be different because not so much of, like we wouldn't want a cheeseburger ever again, but it's going to be different because I think that we're going to, as a society, not going to be eating each other like all living things. Like, there can be some living things that will, but I don't know. Especially if you see that video with the iridescent animals. It seems like in the future world, everything is going to be a lot calmer and a lot more harmony. So I don't know, but I don't think there's going to be certain things that are going to be gone. And to me, it's like, well, you had to appreciate it when you had it. And so it's kind of like processing through saying goodbye to this old world to me. But, it's whatever you're going through is what you got to go through. And then she said, well, I'm not, like, I still don't like Donald. And I said, yeah, it's fine, love him or hate him, whatever, that's how people are. But she said, but I do think that there is something weird because they keep saying, like, he's doing this stuff, but they're the ones doing it. And I said, yeah, that's the thing. And I said, that's what got me. It's like he's the catalyst for change, but they use him to show what other people are doing. But I think at that point it was already sounding scrambled because you're not going to hear what you're not supposed to hear. And everybody's going to go at their own pace. But I was like, oh, see, in what she was talking about, I was like, man, it's a good thing. See, I had to wake up on the medical stuff because the stuff she was talking about, I was like, it just sounds like scramble to me. It's like there's a big thing I think about, like how Charlie Brown's parents talk. I think when you are hearing something that you're not ready to hear yet, it does just sound like wah 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 wah, and you don't really hear what the person's saying. You're not able to unscramble it, and so it just sounds like a bunch of hogwash. And based on your biases, because then you can start thinking, well, they're a stupid idiot. And it's best not to do that. It's best to just, understand we've got a lot of communication variables at this point. And so she was talking about, like, I know we can't say this word either, but it's pack. But then you put an A in front of it. And so she was like, these people, they are out to, do us all in. And these people are the worst people and they're in control of everything. And how are they doing, like, all this stuff? And this is all how the real is playing out. And she's like, calls it the is real thing. And then she says, but it isn't. And I was like, so see, they're all paying attention to certain things that are happening right now that are waking them up. But mine happened, before, because the part that was playing out was the part that I was going to wake up to. So I was going to wake up to the medical nonsense because it was, it was in my cupboard. It was in my my programming or whatever, however you want to look at it. And then hers, what she's waking up to, which is a whole huge group. This is because she would be considered a millennial. Her sister, right? Both of them would be considered millennials. So a whole group of that age, which is like a lot of those kids were the first kids to graduate from college in their families. Lots and lots and lots. And because there was a lot of us who went to even though I had graduated, it wasn't from a university. And so they were graduating from universities. And mine was, the nursing program was at the junior college. So you could go to that. And then if you wanted to get a bachelor's, you'd have to go to the university. But there's a lot of hardworking people out there. that were doing all sorts of jobs that didn't graduate from school, who's wanted their kids to have a better life, do better. And we're all pushing our kids to go to school so they don't have to work so hard as we did. And then, but I was definitely telling everybody, don't become a nurse. My one granddaughter, who's trying to become a nurse now, I'm like, but her other grandma's a nurse too. And we both have different attitudes about it. But so, anyways, she is. I was constantly telling my kids, "Don't become a nurse." It's like you just, I don't know. It's like a janitor in the fucking the circle of life. Like you're way down here, where people don't give a shit. And I mean, the people who come in, they will talk to you nice and stuff, but you're dealing with doctors, surgeons, these people who look at you like a peon, like, you know, just like how that girl was treated on the phone. This is somebody who's going to pay him, and he was treating her and talking to her like that. That's how you would be treated at work. It was hostile work environment all the time. And even if the doctors were more nicer, it was because probably because they were more flirty or trying to, I don't know. There wasn't a lot of doctors who were just kind people, you know, who would sit and chat with you just out because they were just nice guys. And so it was just a toxic work environment to me. It's like, ugh, who wants to go through this? And then you're poop patrol all the time and just gross ass stuff. You're doing the grossest stuff. And then people become so like needy of you. Like everybody didn't have a mom or something. And they just need you to come in and take care of them, make them feel better. It's like, and then you have a bunch of toxic nurses who are like that, who it makes them feel good about themselves, like these people are too weak or something. Like there's just all things that get out of balance, you know. But anyways, you have now a whole huge amount of people who are starting to see through things, and there's way more to see through, but see the huge shifts happening, huge shifts. And the one video I had seen too, this was because it's it's in every aspect of our lives, it's our jobs, our relationships, everything. Is that's what we have to wake up to. We have to, it is like live, like what I was saying yesterday. It's like confirmation. It's like live in a more determined, like you are more making the decisions of how you want to live. You're not just being reactive to what happens to you. You're directing yourself in the direction you want to go. And so much in what we have to of how you have to like leave this world behind is you have to reprioritize, because there's so many people, and I think that they get really stuck because they want the things that a job brings, but they don't want a job. And it's like, that's where we got to start shifting. It's like, yeah, but do you really need those things? Do you really need that? Do you really need that? Like, if you really don't want to have a job, there's other ways to live. Like, you can make things, like, there's a lot of different ways to live, but that's where you got to start looking outside the box and thinking differently, and really determine like how you want to live. What do you want to do? Because you can, you know, the job can be taking care of yourself. And that is where it's going to really open up for us. But it's like our energy is lasering a hole through this so that we can get to this point where we are going to have like free resources. You're not going to pay for your house and all that stuff. So you can be more of, you know, what do you want to do? It's not going to be the same challenges and obstacles of now what we're going through. Like if you don't want to work, then it's like, man, what are your options? But this is all like the step down through it so that we have this change that occurs. So there's so many people who are going through that, having so much regret, how much time they spend at work. You know, people who it's led to divorces and losing their families. And so there's all these people processing through things. And this video, though, this really got me, this one this morning, because it's just like, oh my God, just watching it. You can be like, this guy, you don't be with this guy. Like, he does not have respect for you. And so it's like they're at a party or a dance or something. And she's all dressed up and he's in a suit. So, but they're too old for prom. But it's still like, an older person's party is like, oh, we're gonna have everybody take pictures. Everybody go over there. We got a photographer, and they've got a set up thing so you can get this cute picture at their party or something. And so, and they're super dressed up, and the camera person is watching it, and it also seems like a friend is videotaping, and the guy starts doing stuff like, holding the, like doing this to her, and then being like, not at all posing like a loving pose or whatever. Even when they finally, after he's done doing all this like ways he would kill her, then he finally stops and they're sitting there like that. And he takes this hand and just slowly goes up to strangle her in the picture. It's like, oh my God, girl, you are with the wrong guy. Get away from him. And that's what the video was, though, because then it switches to her and she's just crying and she's just like, when you look back, you see like the things that you put up with. It's like, oh, that's so true. That is so true. That is the hardest part, is when you look back and you see like, oh my God, why did I put up with that? Why did I, oh my gosh, what is wrong with my self-esteem? How could someone treat me that way? And the thing is you got to also remember the other side of it, that you had optimism, you had hope, you really wanted things to work out. You didn't want to be hateful, like you wanted to be more fun and playful, and it's when things play out, when they run out, when it's all over with, that is when you go back and you reevaluate all these different times, these different little periods that had occurred, and that is the part of the healing. That's why all relationships need that, to be able to go back through. Take it from somebody who's a relationship junkie who just jumped right into the next one. And that was a part of what I was supposed to go through, though. There was always another one just standing there, I swear to God. And so it was, you're supposed to have these periods of time after you go through that so you can process the relationship. Because when you can process it, then you can grow. You heal the wounds. But why you let someone treat you that way. And that is why a lot of people, when they heal, then they're like, I'm never letting somebody else treat me that way. And the further you go into the healing and stuff, then you see things, I think, so much more too. Like, that's where you start seeing, oh, these are like patterns. This is like this other soul is there to play this other part for me so I can heal my wounds. So they have to give me this certain kind of wall to bounce off of. So that's why I said everybody who you encounter is meant to be a part of your story of how you go through things. So, and because so many people, they'll be like, oh, I can't believe it, or I can't believe they came back. I can't believe this. I can't believe that. But you got to start believing that everything happening is for you. Like, those things happen for you. And that's the magic of the universe. That's the magic of this ride. So, the more that you can get into the game of trying to see, like, when the people come around, like, what are they here to show me? What are they here to teach me? What am I here to learn? And so much is like looking backwards and seeing, because you get more of the story. You can see so much more when you look back on something. When you're in it, it's so much harder to see. And we don't trust other people, but I don't think we're meant to trust other people when other people are telling us. Because I would be told all the time, oh, that was such a toxic relationship and stuff. But as a person who's in it, you feel like you still need to be there. Just because they say something doesn't mean like you feel like you need to go. But I think that feeling like you need to still be there and not listening to everybody else, that's their lessons, because you are listening to yourself, because your lessons aren't done. There's still occurrences that are going to occur, happen, that you need to go through, because it's like a slam dunk in your growth. So you have to go through those things. just like the third husband, when he had come back, and the daughter who's not talking to me, this was another period of time where she didn't talk to me because he came back and she had there was big problems with the two of them because the daughter, she was very protective and he was very toxic, and I was just a mess. I had no business being in a relationship, and it was way too many challenges. There was way too much that I couldn't keep up, and but so he had come back around like 10 years later or something, and so it was a few years ago, and this was around, I think it was around 2016 or 20. It could have been earlier in 2017 before I got triggered. That could be the thing. Maybe it was earlier in the summer. Like, because there's a lot of things like, I wish I would have written it all down like a diary so I'd go back through. But there's certain things that you don't know how profound the things happening in your life really are. But I'm sure I have stuff written about this, though, because he was so pushy. He was the one who, when I had gone out with the neighbor across the street, and we went to this bar. It was the Big Al's, so it was a huge bar. It was usually super packed. I don't know if it was like a Monday night or something. And so I'm just sitting at this table with her and her boyfriend. And which was me, because sometimes people pull you into their affairs and you like the other person, that they're cheating on. So I say don't pull people into your affairs. But anyways, so but when I went to go walk to the bathroom, this group of guys stopped me and started talking to me. And then the one kept on and following me around and stuff. And he's the one who ended up being my third husband. And so, and he was super pushy. And I was not a healthy person. And I did not have good boundaries at all. And I would have been way more of a giggly or something. Like if somebody say something and it would be awkward. Now I'll be like, hell no. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And so, but I think I used to giggle through awkwardness a lot back then because if I didn't know what to do, it was like, well, let's laugh about it. So, but when he came back around, then I had healed and then I had boundaries. And he tried to pull his same shenanigans and stuff like that, tell me he was going to move in with me and stuff. I was like, no. And so he was the first, to me, in my healing journey. He was the first one. And the magic behind the universe, I can't get over it sometimes. He was the first one who came back to get me in that direction where I was like, because I've said that I've noticed throughout this that different people will come into my life and they'll be pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's like, oh, I'm supposed to use my boundaries. Oh, I get it. I get it. Yay, I figured it out. So, and then your boundaries keep growing. And then you have boundaries and you stand up for yourself for this one challenge. And you know how it starts with an X. And it starts out low. And then it builds and gets harder and harder and harder. Because then, like I had said, then one of my daughters, and it was like, oh my gosh, that was much harder. And I had several bouts of that. That didn't all go in one time. It's taken a way longer. And I don't know if there's just like a codependency that happens with your kids or something, but it's way harder to stand up to your kids, I think. So, anyways, so it was going through the boundaries, but when he came back around, that really pissed off some people because they thought like, and it was, nice because it did affirm to me or confirm to me like we did have a connection, and we definitely, it was like the thing about him is that I always appreciated is we were from the same generation, and so but he was still younger than me. And he would throw that up in my face like he thought like you're my boy toy, you're like 4 years younger than me, dude. It's like, what? And so the but we were still like, we grew up on like the same kind of foods, the same kind of things that were happening and stuff. So we could have talk about certain things that I never had been able to talk about with other people. And so anyways, there was like this closeness that we had, and like a bond. But then he was very out of control, and I was, because you have the two parts. You have the I don't know, the fixer and the narcissist. And so the narcissist will drag the life out of you, and so it's this thing, but it's to help you grow. And then this person has to see, the narcissist has to hurt some people so it can see the pain that it brings by being so selfish. So it's time for them to start, reevaluating themselves. But, everybody has their own journey. Like, it could be lots of relationships that they go in and destroy before they start taking notice of their own behaviors. So it's always best to start noticing your own behavior, especially when you start recognizing patterns like, oh my God, I'm in one bad relationship after another. Like, what the fuck? And, but when he came back, though, that gave me this chance to stand up for myself. And it was very empowering, especially to somebody who walked all over you. And so to be able to stand up for myself and still do it in kindness. Like, I still felt like I was kind. I still went and hung out with him. We went downtown to a basketball game. I saw his son playing basketball, which his kids hated me, of course. So, but still, it was like, and I think his kids had some problems with him too, because he was an addict. He was a white collar addict. He was like a cokehead or something. Which I just saw this girl who has this weird nose thing. Not the one who has the Jimmy Durante nose. This one had this other thing. And so I went back to look at her videos to see what was up with hers. And hers was from being a cokehead. And it actually like, oh, it's weird. It collapsed her nose, and it ate everything away. Like, she didn't have this. It was like one giant nostril, and her nose like collapsed down and was like flat. It's like, man, how much fucking drugs you gotta do to have that happen? But he had some damage to his nose, but he was a cokehead too. Like, he would leave like a little, I don't know. He sounded like Scarface or something. How he had it on his desk, his whole little thing, and just snorting it up and stuff. It was like, oh my gosh. I never was into that kind of thing. Like, I did some drugs, but I was never like that. Never. I'm just like, oh, I'll try that. I'll try that. And one thing is the cocaine. I never saw that as being like, I couldn't believe people liked it. And it was so, I never liked that stuff. And so anyways, but I would say now you're going to really start noticing more and more people waking up to different things. The things that, woke you up were there meant to wake you up, but the things that are waking them up are different. It was so weird how she started saying this stuff. And I was like, I didn't even know what she was talking about at all. And that is like what we sounded like when we were trying to tell them. And they're just like, you just sound crazy. Now they've all told us that we sounded crazy. So now they're starting to realize, like, oh, I thought this was crazy. So now it's not. And so that is this part. My stomach's like growling like crazy. And I think I'm going to make cookies with butter today. I'm like, should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? It's that little guilt thing. But you know how much you're going to eat of those cookies. And then you're going to be like, oh. So anyways, I haven't decided, but I'm kind of leaning into I don't have to make a huge batch, but the last cookies I just made, these peanut butter ones, and I did not like how they turned out at all. Ugh. I don't even know what the hell was wrong with them. Maybe that's what's going to keep happening. Anyway, all the food stuff I'm going to make. Oh, I made some things that were really good. I made that cactus. I cooked that cactus, and I made beans. I made tortillas, and I made little tacos, and those were good. And then I kept seeing people when I was looking up how to make the cactus. Man, my son was growling like crazy. Um, um, that they said to make it with a salad. So then I made a taco salad that had the cactus and stuff in it. And I have some of that left over. And I don't know if I'm going to eat that. And I have, I made some hamburgers, but with mushrooms. So it was like a big giant mushroom. And then soak it. What is that called when you put the sauces on it and then marinate it? So leave it marinating so it gets a bunch of flavor, which if you like meaty kind of flavor, put like smoke and stuff in there. So just season it like you would a hamburger. And then fry it and keep smashing it. You can cook it on the grill too, but keep smashing it. And I think it comes out like a hamburger. You know, people who are really into beef and confirmation, and people who are really into beef would be like, but you know, I don't know. It all goes for people at their own pace. I'm definitely not gonna tell somebody like, well, you shouldn't eat meat. You're gonna go to hell. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Because you should do it until you figure out you shouldn't do it. It's not up to me. I'm not the God over anybody telling them what they should or shouldn't do and when they should do it and how they should do it. You know, I can keep sharing how I look at things and what I do. And, that, you know, there's other perspectives to be heard, obviously, because there's like a general consensus, and I'm not with it. I'm on the outskirts. So I'm going to tell you what it looks like from out here. And uh, so, anyways, I think, you know, there's more signs of the things are happening. People are waking up because that's what it's all about. I know everybody wants all this stuff. The thing is it's like us waking up is what creates the change. That is why everything changes, is because we wake up and we say, no, hell no. And so this is why it's all about the awakening. And it all happens, like this all happens. This is, we're in a replay, so this is definitely going to happen. It's not something that you have to stress out about, like, yeah, but what if enough people don't wake up? What if this? What if that? No, it's going to happen. I mean, you can just watch as it's happening. You can observe it happening right now. And you know, don't get all caught up. And I think it is good to have an attitude too of not getting into where the people have to have more regret and I'm so sorry, I should have never said that to you and all that stuff. Don't hold them in that space. Leave the space open so that they can keep in their journey, in the endeavor, not hung up on guilt and shame and stuff, because there's going to be enough of that. And just watch and see. Because just like this girl with the video watching, you know, this guy at this fancy dinner party just wanting to act out murder on her. And while everybody's watching and thinking it's so funny, you can just see, like, she just wants to, you know, just like, oh, okay. And he's just, oh, it's so awkward and so uncomfortable. I'll share it. And, but that part where she's sitting there crying and having to look at that and remember and see herself being so submissive and not standing up for herself. Like, I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of things that led up to that. There's a lot of things that people realize, like, that they cover up in their relationship that's falling apart, that they just don't let other people know. And it's because they feel embarrassed or shame or something. It's like, when you're not in alignment anymore, you're not in alignment. You just got to let it go. Like, it's played out. You learned all the lessons. And yeah, it's a shame that we all jumped in and tried to make families with people who were there to teach us lessons. But that was a part of where we were in our society. So that is part of what has to play out. And we have to, you know, deal with it. We have to look at it. We have to understand ourselves and see how we got ourselves in that place. And that is why, like, I know those kinds of things are going to change. It's not going to be like people just going and having kids and and so many young people having videos all the time. They had no idea it was going to be this hard. Young girls just crying because it's so hard and they don't know what to do and there's no time for them and all that stuff. It's like, girl, yeah, you hate your mom, and that's it, this is how she felt. She was struggling, and now you hold resentment and anger towards her. And some parents, yeah, they did overreact and act out, and because we've all been damaged people. Just because they were called mom and dad didn't make them any more or less. It didn't make them any less damaged than they were. And in a lot of cases, it just brings up your damage so that you have to face it. And that's a big part of the parent-child relationship. And it pushes you to have to face certain things, but you can really see the chain. I swear, you can see the chain between each generation of and how these chains can change. But it's wild is like how it's kind of like the people keep carrying the change. They want the air chain to stop, but then they keep carrying it. It's like holding on to resentment and anger at your parent is not going to be productive. Like it's way more productive to have boundaries and to have compassion and caring, because a lot of the older people are just feeling so rejected, just feeling like there's nothing they could ever do right. They couldn't do right by their parents. They couldn't do right by their kids. So they are angry and bitter and sad, and they don't know how to react, and a lot of them do overreact. And the more that you can be gentle and forgiving, and that doesn't mean that you're saying it's all okay. It's just understanding like, oh, well, they were broken. They weren't trying to purposely hurt me. They just weren't fit to be parents at the time. And, that's our general society. Most people that are out there parenting aren't fit to be parents. And there's a lot of people who think like they're such good parents, but they don't even parent at all. They're just gone at work. They're just providers. And their kids feel completely swept under the rug and ignored. So, there's more perspective to see. What do your kids say about that? And then it's not just like what do your kids say about it? It's like where do you see the links in your genealogy of your like the problems that we carry forth, that in order to heal the things so that we don't continue the same toxic behaviors. So that is where people have to start looking at that, and you can't do it if you are holding resentment and anger and think this person just fucked you over and it's all their fault that you have got problems and stuff like that. To more understand like, oh, I came in to deal with these problems. These were the perfect people, the perfect situation to bring these problems up in me. And yeah, they made some mistakes, but I've made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. And we can't just sit there and just hate people because, they've made mistakes. That is really hard on the soul. There's so much rejection. But the people, that generation that is leaving feeling rejected, that is also a part of how it's supposed to play out. There's probably people who they're gonna hate their family member's gonna go, then the lights are gonna come on, they're gonna realize, and that's gonna be all their healing. And then they're going to be so upset, like, God, why didn't I forgive him? Why did I hold on to this anger? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And you got to remember, it's not about would you, should you, could you, or whatever. You got to stay current in what you're processing. And that is a part of it, like you always wish you would have caught on quicker or seen more or figured it out sooner. But that's not the way it was supposed to go. You're supposed to go through the part that's the painful part. And that's, each person has to figure out how to maneuver it, because each person's would be very, tweaked and a little bit different. Like there's not an overall one set. Everybody has a little bit different because everybody's living a different life and a different perspective and a different reality and a different vibration. So there's all these different things playing out. And so, I can't say for sure like, oh, this is what you got to do and you could fix it. No, it's you have to maneuver. It's like we all go up to this base mountain and we all have to figure out how to climb it ourselves. And, you can see like, oh, that person used that rock, I'll use that one too. And you can try and mimic some other people's behaviors in the climb, but you can't just climb the same exact route, because what you have going on is different than what they had going on. So you have to figure out what works for you. And but there is going to be a lot of pain that is going to come from these people rejecting certain people, and then people passing, and then the lights come on, and then them seeing the truth. That is going to be hard for a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of things. There's going to be a lot. It's going to be hard. There's going to be a lot of stuff. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to feel that, like, want to apologize and stuff. And don't forget, when you want to get all stuck in there, like, yeah, you owe me an apology. That's your ego talking. That's you getting all jacked up on your ego. So that's showing you, like, oh, look, my ego is like ready to rock and roll, man. They're just still in there, just like running the show. So, do you want to be somebody who wants people to submit to you and bow down and take a knee, and, or do you just want everybody to just kind of be equal and, say the truth and be their truth, and be honest and be forthright with what you think and stuff, but you don't have to take it and be like, yeah, see, I told you, and you told me I was crazy. And now, I would say, don't. Why do you need to turn it into that? If you still feel like you need to turn it into that, then you got to work on, why you feel rejected, or why you felt like somebody needed to see what you thought, why they needed to see through your eyes, why they needed to see your experience, why they needed to acknowledge it. Why did you think that they needed to have the same experience as you? So that's why there's a lot of things, like when you start noticing yourself and your ego, getting out there ready to rock it, that you need to pull it in and be like, oh no, you just sit back and calm down, watch the grown-ups deal with this, and then, be more compassionate to the other person and understand, like, they really couldn't see. It wasn't like they were trying to ignore you. They weren't meant to see. You're not meant to see what you cannot see. You can see what you're meant to see, because then it's the time for you to see it. But you can't force something. You can't force a kitten's eyes open. We're not meant to open our eyes except for what we are meant to open our eyes to. That is like the combo effect of the collective, of a part of our own healing, where we start feeling like everybody has to see things the way we see it. Everybody has to look through, see what I see and stuff. No, you're not going to find that. You're not going to find. And, I think that we all have groups of people who, jive with us. They're on the same vibration. They get it. Like, we can talk to them, and it's just like easy peasy talk. You're not having it. And then you can talk to other people where it's like you're trying to explain your perspective, and that is because they're on a different vibration. It doesn't mean that there's a lower vibration or high. It's just a different one. Like when you're going through the radio stations and you're changing the frequency, are you going to just sit there and say, oh, well, this one is better than that one? It's like there is a certain range where it's just different frequencies. It's just different perspectives, different ways of looking at things. And when you get up to the highest perspectives, that is where there isn't jealousy, there isn't judgment, there isn't anger, there isn't any of those kinds of things. So all of the things that define us goes away. And so it's the things, and it's like the things that define you are the things that you get to look at right now, readjust, reevaluate, because those are what defines you. If you're angry and you're bitter and resentful and those things, that is who you are. And that is things that you get to realize for yourself. And so if you don't like to be angry and bitter and resentful, then you get to look at it and be, like, what am I holding on to this anger for? Why am I so holding a grudge about this? Why am I so mad about that? And then you go in and you find those wounds, and you'll see, like, there's reasons why you do it. It's not like you're doing something wrong, but that's why it's happening. So you go in and look at yourself deeper. So you go in and heal that stuff. So it's not so that you can sit and watch this person and, see like, oh, see, they're such an idiot. They're so, that's being judgmental, sent back like that. Is when you think about like how they affect you, what comes up in you, that is what is your opportunity to go and see like, oh, they make me feel this way or that way. Because even things like where you are talking to somebody and you feel like, oh, I'm so much better than them, that's also toxic, to think like you're so much smarter, you're so much better than other people. And to me, the thing is always is it's just all different perspectives. Like, you don't know for sure if theirs is, you just don't know. Like, so it's best to just understand your own and always be open to growing and seeing more. But um, But it does have to do with also discernment, because you can't just be open to what everybody thinks. You have to be able to decipher what feels right for you, and then you have to be able to figure out how to be comfortable in what feels right with you, because it's not going to be for everybody. And so it's just a lot of this whole thing is just about you getting to understand yourself and grow and see yourself and let go of things. So, let me think. I haven't really um, gone on there this morning. Oh, well, when I go on, it just keeps being like these repeat of these old videos and stuff. So, even if I go on and I see like 20 videos, there'll be like one or two videos of something that is even current. And so I don't know. It seems like I saw this one guy yesterday live a bunch of times who kept talking about the money stuff. Then I saw a guy he said that he was kind of like making a joke out of all the sharks and stuff. And he goes out, and he lives in Florida, and he goes out and walks out into these dunes and fishes and stuff. And he got attacked by a shark, aggressive bull shark. He said it freaked him out. And so then he's saying something is up. I was making fun, but that was really, really scary. And these some people like, oh, it's just so normal, you guys quit making a big deal out of it, because there's people who are saying all sorts of stuff on these shark videos, all sorts of things that people are thinking and stuff. I would say that the animals and everything to be doing weird stuff, it has to do with the frequency. It has to do with the changes on earth. This is the same with all of us. People are doing weird shit. There's so many weird car wrecks and weird shit just happening. And that's another thing that spooks me about going and doing this long drive too, is the amount of car wrecks, crazy ass car wrecks. And even if you're not involved in one, you can still be sitting there stuck on the freeway. So I don't know. There's a lot of things where it's like, God, I just wish this shit would hurry up. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know that it's going to be safer once the shit goes down to travel. I don't know. There's going to be things that are going to change, because I feel like that they're going to start pushing more to go towards these freedom cities, towards free land and stuff. I feel like there's going to be more push to try and direct us into areas that are going to be more safe. And I think that, so there's going to be travel, but there's going to be so many things going down. Like, I even saw a nurse practitioner, and she's working at an urgent care. And she said they're changing the stuff now, that this is getting way worse. Because it's all corporate owned, and all the people who work for them have to see when they're being pushed into doing what's right or doing what the corporation says. And so she's saying that normally if somebody came into the urgent care, that you would, if they went up, like an old man went up and his face is drooping and stuff, then the receptionist would go get the doctor. The doctor would come out and say, we think that you need to go over to the ER. It looks like you, and then would call him an ambulance and stuff. And so she said it would be real quick and they get him out. Well, now they've changed it to each and every person that comes into urgent care has to be seen. They have to wait their turn, wait and be seen. So she said it's extending the time. Somebody can come in, because lots of people go into urgent care and they have way more serious stuff and have to, there's lots of people get sent by ambulance out of the urgent care. So, the corporation wants you to stay at the urgent care and just die there, I guess. And, but there's more and more, shenanigans that just keep going, all the hospitals and all this stuff with administration and stuff like that, because administrators are not there to save us. They're just there to make money. It's like, it's just running numbers. And so, maybe it has to do with they want the insurance payment for each and every person. I don't know what the shenanigans it is. But the people who work in these facilities, see, they got to see like, oh, so I'm supposed to just let this person just die because the corporation says. And so that's where we're got to keep having this breaking free. So there's a lot going on with the medical. There's a lot going on with the financial. There's a lot going on, of course, with the political. And so everything is building and building and building. I still think like we got to be so close, but I just don't know how it's going to go. Like, is the money going to collapse? And then we're all going to be sitting here and can't go anywhere or do anything for a few weeks or a few days, or are they going to do it real quick? Is everything going to move real quick? Or I think that we have to go through this loss, like this, like we're going to have to feel it, I think, for a few days or maybe a couple of weeks, the financial crash. I don't think it's going to be just like, oh, it crashed, but now you're rich. I think it's going to be much more for those of us who understand, like, oh, now it finally crashed. Now everything's going to change. And, but it's got an impact. That is a part of a lot of people's awakening, is to lose massive loss. And so that still has to go. So I don't know. There's a lot of these things that can go for a couple weeks. And I've heard that they've said this is going to be a really wild summer. And so I don't know. I mean, they've said this for so long. I swear to God, in 2020, and it was a 2021. It seemed like, okay, we just got to get through January. Then all of a sudden it was like, as I swear to God, I was like in the group of, I thought that they were going to helicopter down and just arrest all the people right then and there at the swearing in situation, which now all this stuff is coming out about. None of these people have been sworn in, and the whole fucking thing. Like, not just those two. No, we got judges, we got senator, all sorts of people who've never been sworn in, which the swearing in, it's also absurd. It's also absurd. But so the, we have all of the, well, the media, like there's so many things, and they're all just blowing up and crashing down and stuff. So there's gonna be more of that, and I don't know if all of a sudden it's just gonna be like boom. I don't know. I just know all these things are gonna be crashing and going and changing, and the more that you let go of them and are able to figure out something new, like think of medical now and natural and stuff. And that was another thing too with my daughter, who was seeing through this stuff. She went and got her lashes off, and so there's big changes that keep happening with people, and it just keeps going. And then don't forget, like the less that you try and bind them back and hold them back with apologies, the more that they can chug along and keep this going, because that is where we have this big change that occurs, is that all of the people shuffling through change and wanting more. So again, I would just say, as people wake up and stuff, don't get all hung up on your ego, feeling like, oh, they owe me an apology. Well, they shouldn't have said this. They shouldn't have said that. You got to remember, you were awake and they weren't awake. And there's a lot more things that you probably are going to wake up to. So don't be judgmental that they weren't awake, because you've probably got a lot more things to wake up to. Because that is one thing I have seen over and over and over. So many of these people, they're not, they think they're awake because they know about this, but there's so many other things that they don't know and they don't understand and they're not paying attention to. And so there's more. This awakening is just going to keep going and going and going. And so we'll see. I mean, there could be things that I haven't woke up to yet. We'll see. So anyways, just remember through all this stuff is you got to remember to love yourself, to love everyone, and to have a loving day, because it's up to you. It's a choice. I'll talk to you later.